Welcome to an exploration into the fascinating world of UFO encounters, where we'll dive into the groundbreaking classification system created by Dr. J. Allen Hynek. As one of the most respected astronomers and ufologists, Hynek developed a method to categorize and understand the various types of encounters with unidentified flying objects, while working as a scientific consultant for the Air Force's Project Blue Book. Hynek's close encounter system became popular in the UFO community and among civilian researchers. But the Air Force's approach to UFO reports has generally focused on identifying and categorizing sightings based on more conventional criteria, such as aircraft, weather phenomena, or other explainable events. The close encounter classification system is more associated with Hynek's work and the broader field of ufology than with official military or governmental procedures. In this video, we'll break down each of these classifications, from simple sightings to close encounters of the first, second, and third kind and beyond. Get ready to uncover the mysteries behind one of the most influential frameworks in UFO research. Allen Hynek introduced the Close Encounters Classification System in his 1972 book, The UFO Experience, a scientific inquiry, which will be linked in the description. This system categorizes UFO sightings based on the proximity and nature of the encounter with the unidentified flying object. We are going to examine these various types of close encounters in more depth, exploring their significance, what sets them apart, and the profound implications they hold for our understanding of extraterrestrial phenomena. Before we get into it, if you like my videos, I hope that you will subscribe and become a member of my YouTube community. Also, don't forget to share this information with your friends and family who are curious about the mysteries of UFOs and want to learn more about the different types of encounters. And if you'd like to further support my channel, please consider leaving a super thanks, for which I am always so grateful. Okay, so let's look at these close encounter classifications and discover what each one reveals about our potential interactions with extraterrestrial life. Close encounters of the first kind, or CE1. This classification refers to visual sightings of an unidentified flying object within a relatively close range, typically within 500 feet. During a CE1, the observer can see detailed aspects of the object, but does not experience any direct interaction with it or notice any changes in the environment, such as alterations in the surroundings or interference with electronic devices. Essentially, this classification describes a situation where there is clear and detailed visual observation of the UFO's shape, structure, or features. These are the most frequently reported type of UFO and generally do not leave physical traces or evidence, such as ground marks or radiation, as seen in other classifications. The UFO's shape, size, and sometimes its features or lights can be observed. The clarity of the sighting enables descriptions of the object's appearance, such as its color, form, or any visible markings. CE1s typically involve reports of unusual lights or objects in the sky, which move in ways not easily explained by conventional aircraft. The UFO may be stationary or moving slowly, allowing the observer to get a good look without immediate or rapid changes in position. Quantifying the exact number of close encounters of the first kind each year can be challenging due to variations in reporting practices, regional differences, and the subjective nature of UFO sightings. However, several organizations and databases track UFO sightings, and some provide estimates. Mutual UFO Network MUFON is one of the largest and oldest UFO investigation organizations. They collect and analyze UFO reports. While they don't specifically break down sightings into CE1 classifications, their annual reports offer insights into the number of reported sightings, which often include CE1. The National UFO Reporting Center, or NUFORC, also collects UFO sighting reports. Their database includes thousands of reports each year, many of which could be classified as CE1, and they offer complete testimonies of the encounter as told by the observer. Historically, reports of UFO sightings have varied widely. For example, in the year 2010, estimates suggest that thousands of UFO sightings were reported annually worldwide, with a significant portion being close encounters. Typically make up the largest portion of UFO reports. Estimates suggest that around 70 to 80% of UFO sightings fall into this category. Consequently, there are just too many to mention, and these CE1 encounters are now accepted as common occurrences. Close encounters of the second kind, CE2, account for a smaller proportion, approximately 10 to 20% of reports. These involve physical evidence or environmental impact. Close encounters of the second kind, CE2, involve several key elements, distinguishing them from other types of UFO encounters. The first distinguishing element of close encounters of the second kind involve not only visual sightings of a UFO, but also some form of physical evidence or interaction with the environment. Hence, CE2 is defined by the presence of tangible physical evidence left behind by the UFO. This evidence can include physical traces, such as burn marks, scorched vegetation, or imprints on the ground where the UFO was observed. This tangible evidence could include effects on vehicles, such as engine stalling or radio interference. The UFO's presence causes observable changes in the surroundings. This might involve disruptions to electrical systems, such as power outages or interference with electronic devices. This encounter may also result in physical phenomena, like unusual radiation levels or magnetic field changes. It can also include physiological effects on humans or animals, like burns, unconsciousness, temporary paralysis, or nausea. Usually, evidence left behind that may be studied. A few notable CE2 encounters include the 1964 Socorro incident. In Socorro, New Mexico, police officer Lonnie Zamora reported a CE2 encounter where he observed a craft that left a burned area on the ground and damaged vegetation. The site showed unusual markings and a noticeable impact on the area. Then there was the 1976 Tehran UFO incident. During this encounter, Iranian Air Force pilots experienced electrical malfunctions and radar interference when attempting to intercept a UFO. The encounter involved physical effects on both the aircraft and the environment. The Falcon Lake incident occurred in 1967 in Canada. Stefan Mihalak reported seeing a UFO near Falcon Lake, Manitoba. When he approached it, the craft emitted a blast of hot gas or air, burning him and leaving a grid-like pattern on his chest. Physical evidence included his burns, traces of radiation, and strange metal fragments at the site. Around that same time, the Valençol UFO incident of 1965 occurred in France. A farmer, Maurice Massé, reported seeing a UFO land in his lavender field, followed by the appearance of small beings. After the encounter, Massé found that the soil where the craft had landed became hard and resistant to water, and his lavender plants did not grow properly for years. Shortly thereafter, in 1971, the Delphos Ring incident occurred in Kansas in the U.S. A young boy and his parents witnessed a glowing, mushroom-shaped object hovering over their farm. After it departed, they found a glowing ring on the ground where the object had been. The soil was reportedly water-resistant and contained a strange substance that defied analysis. This water impermeability of the landing spot appears to be common. Then in 1980, the Rendlesham Forest incident occurred in England. U.S. military personnel stationed at RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge in Suffolk, England, reported seeing strange lights and a craft in the forest. Investigators later found impressions in the ground, broken tree branches, and elevated radiation levels at the site. There are many other documented CE2 encounters, so I will move on to a few notable contemporary reports. The O'Hare Airport UFO sighting in Chicago in 2015 involved employees at O'Hare International Airport who reported seeing a disc-shaped object hovering above the airport. The UFO was observed by multiple witnesses, including airline employees and pilots. The object reportedly left a circular hole in the cloud cover as it ascended at high speed. There were also reports of electromagnetic interference with airport communication systems. Although the sighting didn't leave physical traces on the ground, the impact on cloud cover and electronic systems categorizes it as a CE2. The Obolon District UFO incident occurred in October 2020 when multiple witnesses in the Obolon district of Kiev, Ukraine, reported seeing a bright, cylindrical object that hovered in the sky for several minutes before rapidly ascending. Residents nearby experienced temporary power outages and disruptions to electronic devices. The sighting was accompanied by unusual radio interference, and some local media reported unexplained damage to nearby electrical infrastructure. The Las Vegas UFO incident occurred in March 2021, when several residents of Las Vegas reported seeing a large, bright object in the sky that emitted a powerful beam of light. The object reportedly hovered over a residential area, and witnesses claimed that streetlights flickered and car alarms went off during the sighting. Some also reported that their electronic devices malfunctioned. The Nimitz UFO encounters occurred in 2004, but were not disclosed until 2016 by the U.S. Department of Defense, who released videos of tic-tac-shaped objects flying at high speeds with no visible means of propulsion. Radar systems on the USS Princeton tracked the objects, which exhibited extraordinary maneuverability and speeds. The encounters involved radar anomalies and disruptions to targeting systems, qualifying them as CE2. What are your thoughts? Should our governments be more transparent, or do you feel they are justified in withholding such evidence for 12 years? The United States is not the only country who is secretive about UFO encounters, though. The Chilean Navy UFO incident occurred in 2014, and the information was not released until 2017. The incident involved a Chilean Navy helicopter that captured infrared footage of a UFO off the coast of Chile. The object emitted 2 streams of a hot substance and moved at speeds that defied conventional explanation. The helicopter's sensors recorded unexplained thermal readings, and there were reports of radar anomalies during the encounter. The Chilean government took 3 years to investigate the sighting before it gained global attention as a significant CE2 case. This sounds more reasonable, but we don't wait for an investigation to be completed before the media plasters accusations of criminal offenses against world leaders, thereby molding the minds of millions. So why don't they tell us about UFO sightings for years? The answer is quite simple. They don't want us to know. There are many other CE2 encounters, but this gives you an idea what they are like. Now we are moving up to the real heavy stuff, close encounters of the third kind, or CE3, and it gets very interesting. This classification involves sightings of animated beings associated with the UFO. These beings are often described as occupants or pilots of the craft, often referred to as aliens or extraterrestrials. This visual contact with entities perceived to be intelligent or animated, whether humanoid or non-humanoid, may involve interaction with the witnesses, but interaction is not a necessary component for this classification. These encounters are often considered the most sensational and are frequently associated with claims of alien abductions or communication attempts. So let's take a look at some notable CE3 reports. One of the earliest recorded events in our records is the Kelly-Hopkinsville encounter in 1955. It was observed in both Kelly and Hopkinsville, Kentucky. A family reported seeing small, glowing creatures outside their farmhouse. The beings were described as having large eyes, claw-like hands, and metallic skin. The encounter lasted several hours, with the creatures repeatedly approaching the house despite being shot at by the terrified family. In 1961, Betty and Barney Hill reported their abduction near Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Hills swore that they were abducted by extraterrestrial beings while driving home at night. Under hypnosis, they recalled being taken aboard a UFO, examined by humanoid beings, and subjected to medical procedures. This is one of the most famous and well-documented abduction cases. The Pascagoula abduction of 1973 is another famous abduction. It occurred in Pascagoula, Mississippi. Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker claimed they were abducted by robotic humanoid creatures while fishing on the Pascagoula River. The beings reportedly took them aboard a craft, examined them, and then released them. The case received significant media attention and remains one of the most well-known abduction cases. A movie named Fire in the Sky was made about the 1975 Travis Walton abduction near Snowflake, Arizona. On the evening of November 5, 1975, Travis Walton, a 22-year-old logger, was working with a crew of 6 men in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest in Arizona. The men were completing a logging contract when, as they were driving home in a pickup truck after a day's work, they noticed a bright light in the forest. Initially, they thought it might be a fire or something ordinary, but as they got closer, they saw it was something extraordinary. The light came from a large, glowing, disc-shaped object hovering above the ground. The object emitted a high-pitched sound and was around 15 to 20 feet in diameter. The men were shocked and frightened, but Travis, curious, got out of the truck to get a closer look. As he approached the UFO, a blue-green beam of light suddenly shot out from the craft, striking Travis and lifting him into the air before throwing him several feet back. His co-workers, terrified, sped away in the truck, leaving Travis behind. The crew stopped a short distance away, arguing over whether to go back for Travis. Shortly thereafter, they returned, but there was no sign of Travis or the UFO. The men reported the incident to the local authorities, who initially suspected foul play, but a search of the area yielded no clues. Walton was missing for 5 days. During that time, the case received national media attention, and the men were subjected to polygraph tests to verify their story. The tests indicated that the men were telling the truth about what they had seen. Walton reappeared on November 10, 1975, near Heber, Arizona, about 30 miles from the location of the abduction. He was disoriented, weak, and dehydrated. He later recounted under hypnosis what had happened to him during the 5 days he was missing. Walton claimed that after being struck by the beam of light, he lost consciousness and woke up inside of what he described as a medical-like room on a spacecraft. He was lying on a table and was surrounded by 3 small beings with large, hairless heads, big eyes, and wearing orange jumpsuits. Panicking, Walton tried to fight them off, but they left the room. He then encountered human-like beings who took him to another part of the ship, where he was placed in a chair and lost consciousness again. He recalled waking up on the side of the road with the UFO hovering above him before it flew away. Then, in 1994, the aerial school encounter was reported in Rua, Zimbabwe, where over 60 schoolchildren reported seeing a craft land near their schoolyard. They claimed that small beings with large eyes exited the craft and communicated with them telepathically, warning about environmental destruction. The case has been studied extensively by researchers. In 1997, a CE3 occurred, which has become known as the Phoenix Lights, when thousands of people reported seeing a massive V-shaped craft with multiple lights moving silently over Phoenix. While primarily a CE1, some witnesses claimed to have seen humanoid figures aboard the craft or near it, leading to classifications by some as a CE3. The Varginha incident occurred in 1996 in Varginha, Brazil. Several residents of Varginha reported seeing strange, humanoid creatures after a UFO reportedly crashed in the area. The beings were described as having large heads, red eyes, and oily skin. The Brazilian military was said to have recovered the bodies, but the incident remains shrouded in mystery. Pascagoula, Mississippi resurfaced when a new witness came forward in 2020, claiming to have seen the same UFO that abducted Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker in 1973. The witness described seeing humanoid figures near the UFO. This recent report has helped to confirm the Pascagoula incident of abduction. I didn't cover all of them, but the most recent CE3 report was the Close Encounters of Czar, Mexico in 2023. A group of farmers reported seeing a glowing object land in a field. Witnesses described small beings exiting the craft and examining the area before quickly returning to the craft and taking off. There were no significant physical traces left, but the sighting received local media attention. In September of 2023, Mexican politician Jaime Maussan brought 2 closed boxes with glass lids containing the non-human remains of extraterrestrial origin. These remains were said to be around 1,000 years old and were reportedly found in Peru. And recently, on New Year's 2024, the Aliens of Miami video surfaced. The blurred footage depicts 10-foot aliens walking around Miami's Bayside Marketplace Mall. About 60 squad cars responded to the mall for a report of shots fired. Miami police were quick to announce that there was no UFO and no aliens. They said that a group of about 50 teenagers were shooting off fireworks that had been reported on 911 as gunshots. Nothing going on here, just move on. But the plot thickened when reports began to come out of social media that there was no disturbance of teens and no fighting. One particular post on Twitter went viral saying, "I was at the Miami Mall yesterday and the government is lying. There were no kids fighting. Everyone started panicking because these gray creatures were walking around. They didn't make any noises or sounds but stared and watched you move. I tried to take a video, but every time I would try to, it would just bug out. They set a perimeter and wouldn't let anybody out or in unless they went through their photos. We were visited by aliens and the government is covering it up. I may be off here, but does 60 squad cars seem like an awful large response to a 911 call of a gunshot? Police say that they called for extra squad cars after they arrived at the scene, but something doesn't sit right. There was no gun, only fireworks, and they call 60 squad cars and later inundate the news with assertions that there were no aliens personally. I'm thinking this case may have been a Project Bluebeam test. If you want to learn more about the secret government program known as Project Bluebeam, which many believe might be used in the future as a global scare tactic, a link will appear at the end of this video about Project Bluebeam and how it may be used to fool you. Hynek's classification system has been influential in UFO research, providing a framework for organizing and studying sightings systematically. While these three types of encounters form the core of Hynek's original system, subsequent researchers and enthusiasts have expanded on these categories, introducing additional levels such as close encounters of the fourth and fifth kind, which involve abductions and communication, respectively. However, these additional classifications were not part of Hynek's original framework. Hynek's work helped legitimize the scientific study of UFO phenomena and has inspired ongoing interest and investigation into unexplained aerial encounters. Close encounters of the fourth kind, or CE4, involves an encounter where individuals are allegedly taken or abducted by extraterrestrial beings. This type of encounter goes beyond visual or physical contact and includes direct interaction with the beings, often involving the removal of the individual from their familiar environment. Individuals may report being taken aboard a spacecraft, experiencing medical examinations, or having communication with the beings. The abduction can vary in length from brief periods to several hours or even days. Victims may experience physical or psychological effects after the encounter, such as missing time, trauma, or unexplained injuries. Reports often include details of the abduction process, the appearance of the beings, and the return of the individual. Close encounters of the fifth kind, or CE5, involves intentional and proactive efforts by humans to make contact with extraterrestrial beings. This type of encounter is characterized by attempts to communicate or establish interaction with UFOs or alien entities. Individuals or groups actively use techniques such as meditation, communication signals, or other methods to invite contact with extraterrestrial beings. Methods may include visual signaling, like flashing lights, telepathic communication, or organized group activities aimed at attracting UFOs. Successful CE5 encounters might involve sightings of UFOs, perceived communication with extraterrestrials, or documented evidence of interaction. CE5 has been popularized by individuals like Dr. Stephen Greer, who promotes the idea of peaceful and intentional contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. These classifications reflect the evolving nature of UFO research and the diverse experiences reported by individuals who believe they have had encounters with extraterrestrials. This video aims to assist those who may be awakening to inevitable alien disclosure. Take note of events where and when you might see reports of extraterrestrial activity. By all accounts, the evil civilizations like the Greys have been driven from our universe, so you will be safe should you experience a close encounter of any type. So don't be afraid, but always be vigilant.